Hi, I'm Jim Knotts, President and CEO of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Welcome to today's virtual reading of the names. 2022 marks the 40th anniversary of the dedication of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. As part of our commemoration, we'll host an in-person reading of the names at the wall from November 7th through 10th, 2022, when all 58,281 names on the wall will be read aloud. In the lead up to that event, we'll be reading names each day online while sharing the photos of these heroes. For our daily virtual reading, the names of the service members will be read by month and day of death between the years 1956 and 1975 in alphabetical order for the given day. We apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Know that our readers are doing their best to honor these service members. We hope you'll listen and watch each day and share with others as we remember and honor those who gave their lives during the Vietnam War.
Richard Henry Almeida, John Stanley Almoney, James Anderson, Oliver Anderson, Roy Lee Arnold, Robert Douglas Avery, James Iverson Balch, Paul Leroy Barker, David W. Barnaby, Edward Nasusak Barr, Willie Bedford, Larry Charles Beebe, Dennis Paul Bergenstein, Gary Ladd Beal, Arnold Lee Bolander, James David Borowski, Robert William Bowe, Matthew Anderson Bowen, Lester Bracey, Billy Wayne Bridgman, Lonnie Allen Brooks, Darrell Lee Burnside, Monty Duane Button, Jack Craig Carclay, Jesse Carmona Jr., Troy Monroe Carnline, Robert Hardy Carr, Joseph Cadillo, Arthur Fletcher Cheney, Carl Russell Churchill, Stephen William Clark, Thomas Dean Clem, Lawrence Jurgis Conaway, Roger Jean Craig, Chester Arthur Cummings, Walter James Dancer, Charles Cecil Davis, Oscar Alfred Day, Fred Dinkins Jr., Eddie Ray Darrett, Llewellyn Paul Dickinson, Tommy Eugene Dickerson, Charles Leonard Doom, James Ray Dowdy, William Kelly Downing, Glenn Christie Duncan, Kurt Charles Eady, Richard George Engelman, Ray Francis Evans, Donald Wayne Falwell, John Michael Farner, Daniel Frank Fenewald, Robert Edward Flannery Jr., James Herbert Flickinger, Robert Waldron Forbush Jr., Gerald Wayne Fort, Ronald Richard Gamble, Richard Kaluta Garcia, Ricky Mark Gilbertson, David Laverne Gerardo, Amador L. Gonzalez, Robert Bruce Haney Jr., Joseph James Harper, Willis Ray Haven,
Norval Martin Henn Jr., Thomas G. Hess, Silas Lucas Hicks Jr., David Keith Holdway, Joseph Clifford Hopper, Brian Gregory Hughes, Michael Francis Hewell, William Ivan Inman, Edmund A. Jablonski Jr., Douglas Jackson, Herman Jackson, Charles Franklin Johnson, Darrell Lynn Johnson, Robert Patrick Johnston, Paul Jones, Clifford Allen Jones, Chester Gale Jordan, Gary Nuburo Kawamura, Dervin John Kiesling, Joel Charles Curvin, Michael Lou Kidd, James Robert Kiger, Charles William Kinney, Michael Roosevelt Kitchen, Antonine George Kossiper, David Bruce Koenig, John Lewis Catora, Robert Henry Kruger, Jr., Arthur Elvin LaChance, David Anthony LaCourse, Joseph Reuben LaRose, Holland Irwin Langham, James Arthur Lehner, Ernest Reginald Lasher, Jr., Perry Andre Leclerc, Charles Albert Lewis, Jr., Virgil Lindquist, Robert Huguette Lewis, Jr., Tommy Richard Lunn, Roy Nance Manns, John Edward Manson, Normand Richard Martel, Richard M. Martin, Armand Dominic Maston, Dennis Ray McCoy, Joseph William McDonald, Alexander McIver, Bobby Lynn McCain, John Richard Muse, Angelo Francis Michelli, Lloyd Ashton Miller, Richard David Miller, William Roosevelt Moore, Ralph Edward Moore, Raymond Marino, Glendale Morgan, Eugene Murray, Warren F. Nickel, Jr., Alan Paul Pagliaroni, Joseph Anthony Pecora, Jr., Randall Scott Phillips, John Michael Phillips, Leonard Picanzo, Jr., Luciano Paul Plezikoff,
Willie Learl Ponder, Robert Clyde Powell, Gregory Jean Pritchett, Juan Jose Ramirez, Early Rand, Winston Glenwood Rameau, Scott Douglas Reed, John Clymuth Rice, Fred Lewis Richardson, Ben Roberts, Bernard James Rodson, Robert James Rose, Robert Henry Royer, Lee Henderson Ross, Javier Arturo Sanchez, Cleon Larry Schreffler, Joseph Ali Schwertfeger, George James Singleton, Philip Craig Skinner, Freddie Leon Slater, Thomas Timothy Smith, Earl Patrick Snow, Julian Solis, Ronald Rhee Soms, James Russell Southey, Roger Howard Sparks, Eugene Douglas Spicer, Fred Patrick Stafford, Michael David Stevens, James Douglas Stokes, Edward Wilson Stone, John Earl Sweezy, Lemuel Ebb Terrell, Oral Ray Terry, Kenneth Ben Thomas, Julio A. Torres Rodriguez, James M. Treesh, Charles Robert Trescott, William Eugene Tucker, Jr., Don Lee Unger, John William Urich, David Verbia, Thomas Carl Widerquist, James Gordon Williams, David Barrel Williams, Woodrow Williams, Glenn Robert Witichik, William Thomas Womble, Jr., Gary Wayne Wright, Robert Jean Yaggs,